Shepard Smith is on it from the Fox News deck.
John, there's breaking news now on Fox News Channel. A senior United States official has just told Fox News that a United States airstrike has just hit in Syria. We've struck, I'm told, pro-Syrian government forces in the south of Syria. Our Jennifer Griffin confirmed the reporting of the Reuters news agency just seconds ago. According to a senior defense official, coalition airstrikes targeted pro-regime units operating in the vicinity of an airbase in the south of Syria after a show of force to try to stop the pro-regime forces was ignored. A coalition commander took the decision to hit pro-regime forces operating in a, quote, well-established deconfliction zone. The coalition commander assessed the threat, and afterward, shows of force did not stop the regime forces, and those forces refused to move out of this, quote, deconfliction zone. The commander on the ground called for an airstrike as a matter of force protection. The senior U.S. official has now told Fox News, quoting, "There is no change in policy," the official said. This is the first time, other than the Tomahawk strike on the airbase that gave U.S. warplanes have targeted pro-Assad forces. We expect a statement from the Pentagon at any moment. So in short, here's what's happened. You know that there are Syrian regime forces who have been murdering their own people in the middle of a Syrian war that's been underway for more than 6 years. Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, is widely accused of war crimes and is suspected of killing hundreds of thousands of his own people. There is a deconfliction zone, a sort of safe space, an area that's protected by American and other forces. Pro-Syrian regime forces were in that area today. The United States, in essence, fired warning shots. Get out of this area now. The pro-Syrian regime forces, as the story goes to Fox News, would not comply. So American forces on the ground called in an airstrike, which meant U.S. forces, I presume at this moment, I am led to believe planes, drop ordnance of some sort on this area on an attack on pro-Syrian forces on the ground. And now we wait to find out what has happened in the aftermath. Our national security correspondent, Jennifer Griffin from the Pentagon, will be joining us in just a moment, I'm told. This news broke less than 10 minutes ago on the Reuters news service and has not been reported nationally by television operations, but we now have this confirmed. United States forces, United States weapons have struck inside Syria, in the south of Syria, in a deconfliction zone, as it's been described to me. Though the policy has not changed, according to this senior defense official speaking to Fox News, the policy remains the same. The facts on the ground are now quite different. In the past, the United States struck one time, excuse me, when President Trump ordered that there be a Tomahawk missile strike on a particular airfield, and that Tomahawk missile strike was meant to be a sort of warning against the use of chemical weapons. It was our understanding at the time that the Syrians had launched helicopters that used chemical weapons through barrel bombs on their own people, that the president did this airstrike to warn the Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad not to conduct these sort of war crimes anymore. And though the words red line were not used, it was a warning certainly to the Syrians, stop with what is no doubt a war crime, no more use of chemicals. Since then and before then, the United States has not been directly involved with this Syrian civil war. Our forces are on the ground in various ways, but that is largely a matter of high security, and much of their activities are not known to the public for reasons which should be obvious to you, and for that matter, they aren't known to us either. But today, a new decision was made. There is this deconfliction zone in the south of Syria. Pro-Syrian forces had apparently entered it. We can presume that that meant danger to those who were in what was, prior to and up until that moment, a safe area, and U.S. forces on the ground called in airstrikes. What does this mean in the big picture? Well, sources tell us very specifically that the policy toward Syria, the policy toward the Syrian civil war, has not changed, but we've just taken new steps. For the United States to drop ordnance on that area, we don't know if there were casualties. We don't know the specific target, but we do know that the goal was to get these pro-Syrian forces out of there. Now, remember, the United States does have a stake in this civil war. The Russians and the Iranians back the Syrian regime and its leader, Bashar al-Assad. The United States and a small small coalition of Western powers and others throughout the region back these rebels who are fighting against the Syrian dictator and his forces. That's been the case. So do we have a stake in this? The United States certainly does and has. But our military, aside from the launching of the Tomahawk missiles, has not become involved in any way until this moment. Will this be a turning point? Will the United States, one of the concerns among those military analysts who watch these matters, former generals, former diplomats who watch these matters, have been concerned that the United States could be drawn into this civil war, that it could become a larger thing, obviously with Russia and Iran and Syria on one side, the United States, along with our proxies in the area, the Syrian rebels whom we've been supporting and others. There's always the question, it's very difficult to assess whether what has happened will draw us into something further. The hope is certainly that it will not, that there will be no retaliation, and we're waiting to find from Jennifer Griffin exactly what happened from there at the Pentagon. We're expecting a statement at any moment. And I should let you know, Fox stations from coast to coast are joining us now on Fox News Channel. From Fox News in New York, I'm Shepard Smith. This is Fox News coverage of breaking news in America at this moment. Fox News has now confirmed that the United States has launched a strike in the south of Syria. It's my understanding that this was a sort of deconfliction zone, a safe space area, and that the United States forces were on the ground. Syrian forces there as well had entered this sort of safe space area, and United States forces on the ground wanted them to leave. Warning shots fired. They did not leave. And as the story goes to us at this moment, 1:34 p.m. Eastern Time in New York, as the story goes to us, airstrikes were then called in, and coalition forces dropped ordnance of some sort on this deconfliction zone. This is not a change in policy toward the Syrian civil war, which has left hundreds of thousands dead, a murderous dictator still in charge, and after more than 7 years of civil war, hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people dead, a refugee crisis beyond imagination, and a very tenuous set of circumstances as the Russians and the Iranians back the Syrian regime. The United States backs rebels who were fighting against it. Now where are we? Let's get straight to Jennifer Griffin, our national security correspondent, live for us at the Pentagon, who broke this news for us. Jennifer, what have you learned?
Well, Shepard, senior U.S. defense officials that I've spoken to tell me, as you've mentioned, that there is no change in policy. But what is unusual about this airstrike is it is the first time that the U.S. has called in an airstrike against pro-Assad regime forces. There was an accidental targeting of those pro-Syrian, pro-regime forces in Deir ez-Zor not too long ago. And then, of course, there was that Tomahawk missile strike on Shayrat Air Base in the wake of the chemical weapons attack. But it is unusual, and it certainly was not something that was authorized under the rules of engagement during the last administration, during the Obama administration. The rules of engagement at that time were extremely tight. We have been hearing about a loosening of those rules of engagement and sending some of the authority for those airstrikes back down into the field to local commanders, and that is really what we are seeing today. We don't have all the details, but we can confirm that U.S. warplanes saw pro-Assad regime forces moving into an area known as a deconfliction zone around the town of At-Tanaf. That's spelled A-T-T-N-A-F, and it's on the border with Iraq. It's in sort of eastern Syria. What is notable right now is that it is clear that the U.S. is concerned that those regime forces are making moves on areas where the U.S. has likely trained forces that are gearing up for a very big fight against the ISIS capital, Raqqa. We have been reporting for weeks now that they are on the verge of beginning the operation to retake Raqqa. The U.S.-backed forces, many of them, they're known as the Syrian Defense Forces. They are trained by the U.S. They're armed by the U.S. They include some Kurdish factions, Syrian Kurdish factions, as well as Arab factions. They have essentially circled Raqqa, the ISIS de facto capital, and they have made gains. They've taken the dam on the outside of Raqqa called Tabqa in recent days. And so that is an operation that we expect to begin at any time. And we also expect to hear from the Defense Secretary, Jim Mattis, and his chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Joe Dunford, tomorrow here in the Pentagon press briefing room. And it's only the second press conference that Defense Secretary Mattis has held since he has taken up his job here at the Pentagon. And we were expecting to hear about the strategy to fight ISIS and also the way ahead in Afghanistan. So that press conference was slated for tomorrow, and certainly all eyes are on NATO and the NATO coalition as President Trump begins his journey tomorrow to the Middle East and then onward to meet with NATO allies in Rome. Shepard.
Jennifer Griffin reporting live from the Pentagon. Jennifer, thanks very much. So the headline and summation here: the United States has dropped ordnance in the southeast of Syria in response to Syrian forces coming into a deconfliction zone there. When they were warned to get out, the United States fired warning shots. When they did not leave, the United States called in airstrikes. Those airstrikes have now commenced and are now complete, it's our understanding. There is no change in policy in the United States as regards to the Syrian civil war. We're expecting notices from the Pentagon and otherwise in the moments ahead. I should tell you as well, the breaking news that we've been following out of Times Square in New York City and the car crash that killed at least one person and injured an unknown number